Hey, Disturbing listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, everything I say is completely speculative based on very little information. Keep that in mind. Let's watch.
Thank you for this.
You're welcome.
I feel like happy but guilty at the same time. Because I have shown you like the worst side of my personality.
Okay, good. So she can take responsibility for that and truly apologize without any buts or caveats. Like, I've shown you the worst part of my personality, but you bring it out at me. We've actually seen cast members do that before. Who was it that did that? Was it Angela? Probably. Anyway, so, I mean, unless she has a caveat in a second, but good. So she's able to, that improves the prognosis, that she's able to reflect later on previous behavior and say, that was out of line. And that's part of my personality. That's part of my typical way of reacting. So that shows self-awareness. It shows self-esteem to be able to admit that, and empathy to state that to someone else. She doesn't have to say that. So good sign. But I mean, it doesn't eliminate the risk, but it is a good sign.
No, it's okay. Every day I've been with you, I feel like our bonds, we're growing like a closer bond, and we're having a better connection, you know. Are you okay?
So I'm guessing she's going to a shame place, which is where all this generates from. I'm wondering if this is what underlies all the other behavior that we've seen thus far. A lot of people who are abusive, if not the vast majority, are coming from a place of deep shame and deep self-hatred and assumptions that people are going to leave them because they're unlovable or other people really can't be trusted. And when one has self-awareness about that, or at least about their behavior, it can be a barrier to recovery, because what happens is you have trauma, you have relational traumas, you have abandonment, you have neglect or whatever, and you have these ideas that you're unlovable, you can't trust other people. And so when there are indications that someone's going to leave you, even if you're just distorting and making it up, you become deeply convinced and also deeply hurt because of all the pain that you've been through in the past. And from that hurt, you get very hostile and very angry. And then later on, you might look back and say, oh, I did it again. I completely flipped out over nothing. Well, that starts to kick off the foundation of this whole thing, which is I'm unlovable. No one's ever going to love me. And so people will bounce back and forth between those two states, between narcissistic hostility and distortion. And I mean, narcissistic, I don't want to use that word because the internet doesn't really understand it, but self-centered or very self-convinced hostility and deep hate, self-hatred and shame. And there's no other bastion, there's no safe place to just reflect in a differentiated way, like, I have these issues. And that's where therapy often comes in, because the therapist can provide that foundation and say, there's nothing wrong with you. There's reasons for this. And lots of people have this reactivity with your history. And yes, you've committed some bad behavior, but it makes total sense given where you were coming from. It doesn't make it okay for these other people, but it's very common, and there's nothing wrong with you. And there's a path forward.
Gino has shown me nothing but love, but I continue to have trust issues because in the past, guys have promised the world to me, and my heart have ended up just shattered into tons of pieces.
So I don't know her specific past, but it's not uncommon for people with these. So anytime you hear trust issue, Darcy, these others, the way that I frame it is relational traumas regarding abandonment, neglect, and betrayal. And so maybe not all those things, but along those lines. And so she's talking about how a lot of the men she's been with have rejected her and made her feel very hurt, and so she overreacts to Gino. And it's great that she can recognize. And Gino's been great to me. I mean, he's been, really fair, and I would agree. I mean, think of other cast members, how they would have reacted to that stripper situation. Even under good circumstances, they would have reacted worse than that. When Yara reacted, I think a lot of us would not, violence isn't good, but we could imagine a lot of us having a similar reaction. Gino was just like super cool about the whole thing, didn't hold a grudge. She did apologize, but he made it very easy for her to apologize. But anyway, so she is talking about these relationships and how that's the trauma. It could be, certainly you can be traumatized by adult relationships such that you have schemas thereof, and the schemas weren't there prior to romantic involvement. But that's not usually the case. What often is the case is it began when you were young. And then you either seek people out who will recreate that. You kind of sniff out the abandoners in the group, or you'll engineer the relationship unbeknownst to yourself such that you actually will create a situation where they will abandon you. Because if we talked to those other partners that she dated, I'm guessing that they would have a different perspective, that it wasn't just them being a complete jerk face the entire time. But I don't know that. I mean, maybe they were. I wouldn't be surprised if we found that to be true. So, and then we hear this shattered in tons of pieces. That is probably very much how it felt for her, given what seems to be her relational traumatized schemas. When we are dumped, it always hurts us. But for people who have abandonment traumas and a lifetime of being abandoned and not attuned to, and lack of loyalty and dedication, the feeling is that of a child, right? Because when you're 2 and you're rejected, it is utterly, it's nonverbal. You can't even put it into words. The amount of pain that a 2-year-old feels when they're abandoned and mistreated and betrayed. And if that is true, if you have that feeling when you're 45 and you get rejected and you haven't had any significant healing between then, you will have the same feeling. It will feel like just earth shattering when someone they might not even dump you. They might even just do something that you interpret as a abandonment or rejection. And you have a reaction that of a 2-year-old because you've never developed the foundations that kids who aren't neglected and abandoned build, which is, I'm a good person, and if I get rejected, I'm still okay. 2-year-olds don't believe that, right? 2-year-olds don't say, well, if my parents reject me, I'll fend for myself. Like, we understand that 2-year-olds don't think that way. It would be irrational for them to do so. So if you've never had that dedication, that loyalty, and that healing around, okay, I can finally kind of just count on the fact that I'm lovable for the most part and that I can kind of depend on other people. If you've never had that, then when you get rejected, you react emotionally the way a 2-year-old does, which is understandable when I see it that way,
If I don't let my guard down, I might be jeopardizing the possibility of Gino proposing to me, or even worse, I can lose him forever. I'm crying of happiness, baby, because I feel happy, like truly happy.
I wonder if it isn't bittersweet happiness. It looks like pain, and I've worked with people like her, and there's, without significant corrective experience over time, there's pretty much a constant feeling, underlying buzz or static of deep, deep pain. And they can distract themselves with things. Sometimes they'll kind of forget it, but underneath it all is just this ongoing deep pain, which can drive some people to all sorts of self-destructive ways of coping that can distract them, numb them out. And I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't have that level of suffering, and I think we're seeing a glimpse of that. She's like, oh, I'm so ashamed, and I'm so happy, and I should be happy, and I'm going to try to be happy, but, oh, I'm just so ashamed of myself. You just imagine that's what's happening.
I can scoot a little this way.
It's not in my nature to stay calm, but instead of exploding like I have done in the past, I'm trying to give Gino the benefit of the doubt so I can trust on him.
That's great. That's great. Shows that she is self-reflecting. She is acknowledging that her feelings aren't always accurate, or at least the extent to them. And she's acknowledging that her normal way is to explode. So that she's evaluating herself and she's trying to give benefit of the doubt. That's great. Let's see how it goes.
She sent like a friend request, and she told me that she wanted to chat with me, and she also told me that you're still communicating and that you have even told her about me.
Okay, so the former partner of Gino's reached out to Jasmine and said that Gino has been communicating with her and that Gino told the former partner about Jasmine. I'm not surprised. Gino, I believe, is friends with his former partner and would tell her things like that. So I don't think there's anything nefarious going on. There could be. Let's see what he says.
I just ignored it, and I just texted her back like, I don't think we have anything to chat about. I trust Gino. I know that he's not communicating with you. And she was trying to send me another thing.
So at first, Jasmine is, no, I'm going to trust Gino. I know that he's not communicating with you. Now, I don't know, did Gino claim that he wasn't communicating with his ex? It certainly wouldn't have been wise given Jasmine's reactivity. So, and I'm guessing the former partner is going to send a screenshot of a chat message. And so if you're the therapist for Jasmine or her friend, you have to say, okay, so let's say that he was communicating with his former partner. What story are you making up in your mind, if that's true? I'm guessing for Jasmine, it would be something like, well, he doesn't really love me and he's cheating on me and he's always going to cheat on me and he's just like all the other men, that kind of thing. Instead of, well, maybe he's terrified of me because I have exploded around the former partners and he's still completely platonically friends with these people, with this woman, and there's no threat there at all, but he lied, which isn't good, but because of my behavior, he felt he had to not incur some kind of massive abusive consequence. That one would seem more likely.
But I blocked her even before she did.
Okay.
She's maybe just jealous. I don't know why. Sometimes exes get crazy. Any other time, I've had like a big explosion. But now I know you and I really trust you.
Okay, so good. So she's able to really trust. I think he's about to say, well, actually, I did tell her about you. So now if he's been lying about it, that's not okay. But under some circumstances, you could imagine why one would make a deal with the devil in that way and say, like, I can't tell her. I mean, look what she did about painting the house. If I told her I'm still friends with her, but there's no threat there, she's not going to believe that.
I was not expecting this reaction from Gino. His face changed. Something's going on. So you were texting her. Gino, I'm giving you a chance to be honest. Did you text her?
Yeah, just tell her. And if she flips out, she flips out. But just tell her and do your best to reassure her that there's no threat there. She's just a friend. We broke up amicably. You can see all the texts. There's no nefariousness. I'm not attracted to her. She doesn't want to be with me. No one's against you. I just didn't tell you because I thought you were going to get super, super angry like you did about the decor issue. And then just, deal with the consequences of the fact that you lied and get through it.
A little bit, yeah, but it didn't mean anything.
So in his normal way, he's not very verbal, which on one hand is understandable because of his fear. On the other hand, he's not doing himself any favors because there are some obvious caveats he should say, like, don't worry about it. There's no, you want to see the text, I'm not attracted, just that reassurance rather than just stating the facts.
So you contacted her. What was the conversation about?
So, I'm trying to think. I do know that I wanted to let her know that I've met, the woman of my dreams, so to speak. So,
okay, so that'll help, maybe. Let's see how. So the key is that for Jasmine, which could be a tall order, is to not listen to the voices in her, body and her mind that are saying, he's tricking you, he doesn't love you, no one's ever gonna love you, he's cheating, everyone's against you. To not listen to those voices and say, okay, it feels that way, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to try to walk through this logically. He's telling me this thing, and I don't like the fact that he's contacting her, and it's starting to engage with my control effort to try to control him and make him obedient so that I can depend on him and I can feel safe. But that's not okay. And some people are friends with their exes, and he did say that thing, and maybe I can see those texts that'll reassure me. So this is the crossroads. Let's see what road she takes.
When did that happen?
just a little while ago.
No, give me dates.
I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 days ago.
And it doesn't help, Gino. Just stay. If you don't have anything to hide, just lay it all out. If you're going to tell her, then just say, look, here are the texts. There's nothing to be afraid of. This, reluctance is going to make it seem more shady, which is going to trigger her.
I'm unblocking her and text her back. I want to see what she was trying to send.
I think I made a big mistake, and I wish I could take it back. It's not going to be good.
I mean, there are other options here, Gino. You could just say, no, you don't have to do that. I'll show you the texts. Look at here. There's nothing. Or let me reassure you that there's nothing nefarious going on. And I want to be with you. She's my ex. She's just someone I chat with every now and then. I like to be cordial to people. But there's no connection there. Just something along those lines. You don't have to just freeze. Now, people will point out that, and I will too, that he has been verbally abused by her up until this point, and sometimes you just go into fight or flight.
Did you send her naked pictures of me?
I mean, if he did that, then yikes. Now, I'm guessing, giving Gino the benefit of the doubt, that he sent a picture just to say, look, this is the two of us. But if he did do that, that really changes things.
Next.
No, I guess we won't find out. By the way, I never watch these because I don't want it to be ruined. Because every once in a while I'll catch it and they ruin it. So I don't watch any of this stuff. I never watch any of these clips. I don't even, when they say coming up later in this episode, I don't even watch those because, again, they ruin it. And I want to be surprised. Anyway, everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.